We are live. Good morning, bonjour, namaste, adab, sat sri akal. Hello, connections. Welcome to this bright, sunny morning in Mumbai. But I hope you all are safe and fine. I'm Ashish Banka, your host for the day, and I am from HR Sampark, National President. So glad to bring you across this mad series. I'm glad that you all liked it. While we do this, our continuous endeavor to unearth some very exciting professionals and also to unearth some very interesting HR leaders whom I have come across. Today is a day where I got a hold of one of my previous bosses, a great human being, a great connect, and a great friend indeed, who has come forward to join this bright journey of unearthing HR professionals. Friends, please make a thunderous applause wherever you are to welcome Siddharth Nair. Siddharth is a seasoned HR professional with a lot of experience under his belt and coming across with a lot of credibility which he has obtained from his previous employments. If I say I can keep going on, but a person whom you look out in this modern age, how does the leadership unearths himself? How does you manage people? How do you bring critical situations, and how do you look at him with a rational point of view? That's what Siddharth to you all. Siddharth is a BTech in computer science, an alumnus of prestigious TIS. He started his career as a computer engineer and then moved on to people function post his MBA. He has worked with renowned companies like KPMG and Compass Group, and currently he's a people leader with Renew Power based in Gurgaon. I'm glad, Siddharth, you could take time out and come over this platform. Sampark is really indebted to you to accept this invitation. Today we have somebody whom I have known for quite some time, but I have not got an opportunity to know his the other side. He's always busy. So while most of you know is a popular face coming from media industry, Mr. Ajeet Singh, he is our spotlight of the day, whom we will know about him end of the this session and know that how does his life unfolds and how it is similar to all of you. Ajeet is a seasoned professional working with one of the leading logistics companies in India as a HR leader. And he has worked with entertainment industries like Dome and pharma companies like Kantar in his previous. He is an MBA and also a graduate. Resides in Mumbai. And while Sid helps us to unveil Ajit's journey today, we'll also have some interesting questions to ask to Sid. Thanks for sending you all to send that questions in advance. Without further ado, I'll thank Siddharth once again and hand over the baton to him to take this exciting discussion forward. And please keep sharing and posting your questions. If I get time, I will definitely shoot it to Siddharth. Thank you, everybody, and great. Siddharth, over to you.
Thanks, Ashish, and welcome to all our listeners, viewers, wherever they might be. Um, I was just telling Ashish that I don't do a lot of these sessions, but when he's told me about this concept and what he's been doing through this platform, I thought it would be great to spend some time with a wider HR fraternity there and connect with some of the professionals in this space. So with that background, welcome Ajeet. Great to have
Thank you so much.
you share this space with me and Ashish today, and I'm sure the next 45 minutes what we planned will be extremely engaging and also interesting to sort of get a sneak peek on how your journey has been. And obviously through these conversations all of us tend to pick up something, whether we are senior, junior, experience, newbies, right? So I'm sure there is something for all of us via these conversations. So welcome, and so I was just going through your profile, and we've also had a brief chat prior to this. One thing that I've clearly picked up, and I think that's something which really sort of was a really good advice to me earlier on in my career as well, was the varied experiences that you had, right? So I think you started off with IT, e-governance organization as a generalist. Then you've done a stint in pharma. Then you moved on to entertainment, hospitality, and now with a leading logistics e-commerce player as well, right? So I think a lot of these experiences, and then there's a recruitment consulting stint somewhere there as well. So I think a lot of these, it's been a very varied journey. So how did this journey happen by chance, or you were just looking at your next role? So starting off with your early days from e-governance and moving to recruitment consulting, were you like advised by somebody that you got to like tick these boxes as you sort of take on your journey, or is it just came to you by chance?
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth. It's a fantastic question to start with. So, whenever we were young and into our school, colleges, or management, we always had a thought, what next? So, as a professional, for me, the same question lies still. I'm that young in heart. That question is still with me. What next? So, as we discussed about the journeys, when I started my career, when I was into, so when I started my career, I realized HR is something which is more about people. As a young blood, uh, it was initial thought. I realized over a period of time that okay, I was partly right, that with the media industry we'll be able to deal with different kind of people, different mindset that will give us a better exposure in terms of human mindset, human psychology, which will help us to enlighten a lot of people and their lives. By any smaller means or ways we can contribute into their professional or personal journey if possible. So when I started my career with e-governance, I realized okay, it's an industry which is building a better India. So I used to travel. A lot of travel was there, going places, understanding the how the government is building an ecosystem around it. It was around 15 years, 14 years back. So that time also we did not had a lot of So just to give an glimpse, that was the time when passport was made manually. So I'm talking about that days. So a lot of people used to travel around. I used to travel around and understand that government is building an ecosystem, and employees around it, they not only had a emotional connect with the organization, they had that sense of proud also, that pride that yes, we are contributing towards a better nation. So that drive me to some time, then realized okay, now you understood this, now what next? And as a young blood, you always have that excitement, okay, what is the next we can unfold. That's how we realized okay, now sometime into consulting. Then after consulting for 4.5 years, realized what next. So I keep on asking these questions to myself every 3 4 years into a business or the industry. I realize okay, now what next. It's not about me moving from one to another industry. It's more about how I can go into some other industry where I did not have an opportunity before, how I can explore that industry, understand the business, understand people, how can add value in people's life, add value to the business, even whatever smaller way we can. So that was the whole idea. Then it was a journey which gradually started from it was not at all a planned or a tick mark exercise, but it just started happening, and the thought was always there. So if you ask me if I will have an option to have another industry, I will always be more than happy to take it, because that will give me a better idea that what this industry is all about, how people think there. Because I'm sure people will agree to me that it is always a fresh mind, fresh thoughts with every different organization or the different industry. A lot of time what happens when I moved from an e-governance to the consulting, I realized every individual is different. The stakeholder management was different, because there I had a lot of external stakeholders. Their thought process is different. Then when I moved into the pharma, I realized okay, the mindsets are different, the way of thinking is different, the business thinks very differently. For example, e-governance thinks differently, consulting thinks differently, the pharma thinks differently. At the same time, what we try and do is, when we are thinking about the people as an HR, we always have to think about the business, how the business thinks. And that kept me alive, all across my career, that when you are thinking about the people, same time think about the business also. When you can sync these two things, you not only become a better HR, you become a better human being, a better professional, which is adding value to the organization. And as I always tell my people, if you all come together, we add value to the organization, it will automatically add value to our professional journeys also. As long as it's like a huge ship. We all are trying to push it a step ahead. As long as the ship is moving, we all are growing. So let's come together and push it. That was the trigger which always ensured that okay, new industry learnings, how the businesses evolves over the period of time, the recession, then global meltdown, everything. So this has kept me going in this segment. After pharma, then realized okay, now entertainment, hospitality, spend good amount of time. Then unfortunately, we all had a COVID, the global. We all aware about how things have gone difficult. So these all passing days have taught me one very simple thing: be grounded, be humble, and that will the journey will keep on going. But you have to have your cards intact. Be humble, understand the people's emotion more than situation emotions, because as an HR we all realized as long as we think of people, think of business, rest all will be taken care. So it was,
Absolutely. I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think you touched some really interesting points there, Ajit. And I'm just going to sort of deep dive into briefly those stints, and I think what it meant for you as a professional, also, especially in human resource, sort of growing up with the function, right? So initially, it was a sort of a generalist role that you got in. I think that because you were exposed to a very different sort of thought process, right? As you said, from a
Exactly.
manual, um, sort of an entire intervention. The entire ecosystem was undergoing a change there, right? And I'm sure some of those thoughts and the team itself would have been quite sort of young and looking forward to new things happening. I think that those kind of scenarios, when they are presented to any young professional, it sort of gives them some sort of meaning, to be associated with that particular initiative or project. And I think so that was a really good start for you. And the next stint, which you said, when you went into recruitment consulting, and I feel every HR professional must definitely do a recruitment stint at some point in their career. The earlier, the better, because it gives you a lot of exposure to. It gives you access to a lot of leaders, right? What they think about talent, what are their requirements, what do how would they see their team shaping up, and from an organization's perspective also, how your organization is configured, designed. What are some of those decisions there, and it's a sales job, right? And so that gives you, as a professional, it gives you a lot of learnings as well, right? So that would have been a really great stint for you, first getting exposed to a sort of a new project, new sort of initiative, and then moving on to recruitment consulting for mid to senior folks.
So I will just add one thing, Siddharth. When I started recruitment, so any organization will not give you very senior position from day one. So everybody wants to test the talent before they give some key clients or key projects in hand. So first few months I realized, obviously as a young blood, as by now everybody must have understood, I'm a curious boy. When I use my term boy, I'm still a boy. So uh, I always had
it's
that
it's not the
curiosity.
age. Say it's not the age, it's the mileage, is what I always say.
Exactly. So I realized okay, after 6 8 months it is becoming a little monotonous. Then the organization also realized ki, okay, he can add more value, and they started giving me profiles which were a little senior. When I started interacting with these people, before we patch them into the respective clients, okay, how do we go about it, understanding their mindset, understanding the requirements. That gave me more in-depth of an HR as a professional. Then I realized it's just not about patching from one candidate to the client. It's more about understanding the business requirement. For example, an organization is hiring in any CXO position. It's not about today or tomorrow. They are planning for next 5 years, next 7 years. Then if an organization is hiring somebody at a senior level, they have plans for 5 7 years. And what are those plans? I don't go and ask the client. I just try and do my research. Okay, this is the thought process. Accordingly, you go out and look for the people who can add value for next 5 7 years, and not for the immediate basis in 6 months or 1 year. They don't add any value because they just come on board, they understand the business, they just start gelling up with the business. After 3 6 7 8 months, they start actually adding value. And when I started doing that exercise, I realized clients also got an actual neck. Okay, he's understanding the expectation, and a time had come then when I will say, let me give some a thought on a mass hiring or something like that. No, 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 you focus on this, because that is the neck which every client is looking out for. Then this was the time, after 2 2.5 years, the business realized, okay, I have been given a set of clients. Okay, now you're responsible for the profit center. As you said, when we go for a recruitment, directly or indirectly you try and sell an organization, whoever you are hiring for. And now the I had both the side of the coins was in my hand. Now forget about selling a client, get a client whom you can sell, and then go out and sell it. Ensure you make money not only for yourself, for the organization, for your team. And I was like, what is it? And then after a brief discussion, they make me understood it's not about the salaries. It's more about you taking an ownership of a team, realizing how you can ensure that every individual is contributing. If someone is not, then how do you deal with it? That is what I realized ki it's not about having a team of 1 or 10 or 100. Even if you're one guy, ensure he's adding value along with you. If he's missing something, sit with him, analyze, reanalyze, reanalyze, work on him, ensure he's adding value over a period of time. Even if it is 1% of the total outcome, it is fine. The day he realizes adding value is important, he will automatically start growing from 1 to 2 to 5 to 10, and the sky's the limit. And when I
Yeah,
started working, please.
and Ajit, I think see, I think what one thing which epitomizes the joys and struggles of HR is how everybody seems to have a point of view on talent, right, in the organizations
Absolutely.
or the leaders that you interact with. But you know when you are reviewing talent, the feedback that you get is that maza nahi aaya, you know it's very vague, right? So
I understood.
as obvious is it about when you meet people, when you review people, and it's a gut feel, and talent is about that, right? You spot somebody, you see a spark, so I think for a recruitment professional, or people especially in this function, it's also important for us to start defining what they mean by a great talent, right? Or what they, or an
Exactly.
idea of talent that they have in their head, right? Because after there'll be a lot of difficult positions wherein you would sort of you feel that you've got a great guy, right? But you will not get that kind of response from the business, right? And the
Exactly.
business will not be able to articulate as well what is right or wrong about that particular candidate, right? So
Exactly.
it's also about you trying to sort of steer the entire initiative about around what is the right fit, both from a manager's perspective, organization's perspective, and also your own assessment, right, of
Exactly.
people and individuals, right? So that would have been pretty interesting as well, right?
Yeah. So I'll just add an example to it, Siddharth. I will not name. I was hiring for one of the biggest conglomerate in the country for the one of the verticals, which is into construction. And the head TA called me for a meeting. I have lined a few of the candidates, but they could not, mix it up. He called me up one day and he said, Ajit, see, as an HR, I will like all the candidates because I have to close the position, but it is not me who will work around with the position. So you'll have to think not as an HR, think as a business, what he's looking out for. Then I said, I understood everything, but what? Then he said, you understood everything except one thing. I said, what? The immediate manager, how he thinks, how he acts, is also plays a very important role when we go for an hiring. You understood the business, you understood the expectation, the requirement, but how the L1 thinks about his immediate reporting, which is he is interviewing right now, will always make an impact. Then I said, I cannot go and talk to your employees, right? But you can patch up over a call, Ajit. If required, you can see as an HR, you should always have a voice. You come to me, tell me that, okay, can we have 5 minutes of meeting? And that was the time when the VCs were very rare. So the physical meetings were more often. So I was in his office. He said, now if you are agreeing, convinced, I will patch you for a 5 minutes meeting. I said, if that is doable, I'll be more than happy to have it, because I have to have closures. I, as an HR, we always try and ensure business runs smoothly, and for that we need right people at the right place. Then we had a 10 of meeting, and he after 10 he gave me a hint that don't look at the portfolio what he is up to, just try and understand the person. Then after 10 minutes, I realized, I told him everything is fine. I think it's not about the role. Role we understood, the KRIs will be met, everything will be taken care. But he needs somebody who can go extra mile, keeping the industry's mindset in mind, because construction is a very dynamic business, because you have seasons, we have rainy seasons, then the businesses are little slack. So, somebody who can fit in every shoe. So I said, fair enough. I got the idea, and luckily we could close that position in next 2 months, like by the joining also. Then he called me again, and he said, now you got a fair idea, because he was a very senior fellow in the TA industry. And then he told me, see, as a young HR professional, you start reading mind of your stakeholders. For you, I am the stakeholder, but for me he is the stakeholder. So you should read his mind through me. That is when you will be able to add more value wherever you go. Keep these learnings with you. So then I started realizing it's not about one individual you are talking to. When we are talking to one individual, there are different heads behind it, and we all have to ensure that, okay, uh, we try and understand the actual expectation of that individual. So it was a very interesting journey, how they think, how they act, how they respond to a certain situations. Like when you say, as you said, the candidate is best for you, but the moment it goes to business and you realize the feedback, maza nahi aaya, and you suddenly realizes, my God, I had 1 hour of discussion and I was so impressed. Then what went wrong? But
Yeah.
then we
And
realized, okay, yeah,
correct. And I think, see, this is also like when I was during my stint, I used to always tell my team, especially the recruiters, and I think, all of us should be very sort of, we should take it personally if our selected candidate is not selected. And I think Ashish will remember this. Like, I used to keep telling him as well. We should like take it personally. How can it be that a person I have selected is getting rejected by the business, right? So I think it's not about just matching something. And sometimes I see young TAs, they'll just send 4 CVs, right, to the hiring manager, right?
exactly,
And that is not, I mean, ours is, I mean, as a TA professional, it's not a postman's job. You just post something on the job sites, you get some responses, you collate it, and you send it to the manager, right? And
exactly,
similarly for HR professionals who are doing these rounds, right? My now that I'm part of the HRBP team, and my COE talent acquisition team sends me invitations, and they will block 15 minutes, 20 minutes for an HR round. And I'll be like, how do you assess people in 15, 20 minutes, right? My, like, if you have to, at least you have to spend an hour or so with a person, especially mid to senior candidates, to get
definitely.
your point of view on what you feel about the requirement, the fitment, and the candidate, right? So I think that is one thing which, whenever some recruiter is working with me, I tell the person, I think you should take it personally if your candidate doesn't get selected. Otherwise, if you're not convinced, don't send the profiles. Put in that extra half a day
Right.
to talk to like few more people, and then don't send me like 10 CVs. Send me your top 3 CVs and tell me why these CVs are, why you think that these are your top three, right? And if
Exactly.
within the three also nobody gets selected, then I think you should be really disappointed about your search process. I think that is something which was some of my learnings in my stint. As I said, every I think anybody who's aspiring to become A chief people officer or a senior HR leader should definitely do a TA stint, earlier on in his career. So great. I think so. That was, I think, a really value-adding time in your career. And then moving
Yeah,
on, again, another sort of really, I feel one of the great things I see in your profile is you've been with a company which is either starting up or in a very high growth phase, right,
exactly.
and growing, right, and I think that also adds a lot of value to the uh, to a professional, because it aligns you with a vision, a dream, right, when you're
Right.
joining a young company which is growing, uh, and B, it gives you a proper place in that, because resources are limited. Every rupee counts. There is something that you're building. In our
Right.
context, it's the organization, people, systems, processes. So I think that would have been a great learning for you as well, being part of
Right.
a pharma startup. Obviously, the industry is interesting, but obviously the point of time that you joined the organization and the learnings that it brought.
So it started with the interview itself, Siddharth. So when I got a call from a consultant that XYZ position is there. So I went to see, and I went to reception, and they said, "ठीक है, this way, मतलब straight and left." And I went in. I met somebody, a guy into early 20s. I would say not more than 25, 26 at that point in time. I met him for good 40, 45 minutes, and after moving out, I came out and I was waiting at the reception, and I asked the receptionist, uh, like, who is he, HR executive? And she was like in a shell shock, and she could not respond to me for 2 3 minutes, and then she said, you please be here only, I will come back. And she intercom somebody, and for 15 20 minutes, and this, she said, we will call you back. And I thought, I don't know what weird discussion was it. And we had a very nice discussion, but I thought, what was that then? And while I was coming back, I got a call from the consultant that they want to meet you tomorrow again. I said, yeah, I'm here only. If they're available, I can meet, because spending a whole day is not a wise call. They said, no, 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 we'll come tomorrow. Again, I went next day. The same guy there. I said, what is it, man? And then said, he started discussing that how you want to plan it out and things like that. I said, now HR is discussing so that what great organization it is. Who said it's a startup? And after 10 minutes, he's saying, see, I'm one of the co-founders. And I was like, okay, you are one of the co-founders. He said, yeah, and I have a friend along with me. He'll catch you in 20 25 minutes, and we should be good. I liked the things, the way we had a discussion yesterday, and we should be able to close it up. And I was like, okay, I am going to report to a guy who's around 25, because I was almost 27, 28 that time. I said, okay, younger than me, one, okay, that's what, not a mind blockage, but I said, how do we understand the wavelengths are matching? Then I met the other co-founder in same office, same day. Then we had a nice snacks together and everything. And they told me very clear one thing. See, as a business, we want to touch the sky, but the reality is, even if 10 rupee extra goes for a project, see, for us, it's not about one project. It's about project in multiplied by number of activities in around and involved to it. So you have to keep that in mind. I said, I got that idea, but how do we pull it up? Because when we pharma is a industry which is very much technology or training driven, a lot of knowledge has to be passed on a very regular basis. So I did my homework before going, so I could talk all this. They said, we understand, but that is what we are looking at. Somebody very fresh, young, can understand our pain point as a owners or co-founders, and work as its own organization. I said, fair enough, we can pull it together now. I got an idea how do we want to go about. And luckily, before this, as I said, I was responsible for the profit center, so I was knowing how every penny counts. Then when we started moving around, the every time business will come to me with that, okay, I need 10 position, we want 10 people to be hired in next 30 40 days. My first questions was like, how much business are we doing it in that region, with how many people? And every business was shocked. Okay, man, your job is to hire. I said, I'm sorry, My job is not to hire. My job is to ensure that we hire right people and we are able to run business. We should not have an excess baggage, which will, one fine morning we'll realize that we are not able to pull things up just because we had too many people. And business was like, initially they went back to the founders. They said that kisko laya hai yaar? Matlab, anytime, every time you go and he have list of questions, how much money you will make, when you will be able to justify their salaries at least. Forget about the products, the profit, the marketing cost, the supply chain cost. And the co-founders were initially they one fine morning they called me up, "Bole, so you are a right fit. Forget about everybody. Just keep on doing what you are doing right now." But the whole idea was then business realized कि see, just for the sake of support you hire too many people at one go, but then you realize some of them are not adding value. And I told them when after 3-4 months we were recent friends, so I told them whenever I used to talk to them I used to tell them, see, you hire somebody immediately just because you think you can do wonders. But when you go on data, when you go on numbers, you realize, okay, at XYZ place, you do not have that sufficient business only. You can't expand, you can't push people to fall sick because you want to sell medicines. Okay, so have that understanding of a data. So we will be able to do better business with less number of people also. And as long as we'll save the money, we'll be able to grow together. They said, okay, fine. Then gradually they realized, and I told them, see, as an HR, I will always prefer to hire people, but at the right stage, because I am somebody who will hire with a great heart, but my heart will be, very sad when we have to tell somebody, okay, you are not the right fit, because I was the one who hired them. So then it's not there; it's my fault. So I don't want to be at fault. And they realized, okay, man, it's not, I said, it's not about emotion. It's all about the practical emotions, which we all come with into the professional journey of our careers. Then we realized as a team together that, okay, if you hire one guy, he can contribute in next 3 months to his salary. He'll hire the another one. That was the mutual understanding. But that could happen only when we are able to, have our own voice, make them understand how businesses runs around. But yes, when a lot of initiatives started coming, we started having trainings. So initially, they were also a little reserved about spending money. Then I told them, okay, it's more about putting the information to the people. But if we can go out of the office, take them to some outings, so we are saving money. So let's have this money spent on our people, so they feel more enlightened, they feel more energized. So then they realize, okay, paisa bacha to yahi raha hai, so let's, why not spend it? See, so businesses are always around. You save 2 rupees, go back to them, tell them I want to spend 1 rupee, they'll be more than happy. Okay, ठीक है, 1 रुपया ना, because we feel कि 1 रुपया मिल गया, but back of their mind, they know he is the one who have saved 2 rupees. So why not to worry, spend 1 rupee? And I could sense that because ठीक है, we had enough time together. So I used to tell them, now ठीक है, you want to spend this much money, I will save XYZ amount, and whichever way I can say, by supply chain, entering to supply chain model, whatever little I could add value to. So this was a nice understanding of a startup, how every penny counts, how they think, how they act, how businesses want HR to support them. Because a lot of times, uh, so they know what to do, but they are not able to. They have different blockages. For example, they want to put somebody into PIP for said various reasons. They know this guy can be put in at 1 minute, but they'll always come back to us and say, see, we cannot be a bad cop. We want to be in good books with the team. So you be a bad cop. And as an HR, we realize that's all right. We don't mind being a bad cop, but you'll have to justify why you are a good cop, right? Because justify how much time you have spent in his or her training while he's in your team. What all efforts have you taken? Have you taken any effort? Yes, fair enough. Then we'll be a bad cop and we'll go back and put them into any kind of PIP or any observation we are supposed to put them into. So it was a mix of realization where businesses are running around the HR, and HR is ensuring, okay, hold on to it. Whatever you come with,
Yeah.
just
See,
small justification.
yeah.
Yes.
So I think sometimes our responsibility also is to become a collective conscience of the organization. right?
Right.
And therefore, that very famous sort of definition of what a human resource profession should be is a mixture of a psychiatrist, a lawyer, a friend, a parent. It's a mixture of all of these things. So I think absolutely. I think moving on from there, again, you moved on to the service industry, hospitality and service. So
Exactly.
I think again, coming from the various other backgrounds, you sort of moved on to manage an industry also, which is very different. So you have half of the organization which is very directly customer facing, and the other half is working at the background, right? Again,
Exactly.
supporting the customer service, right? So that would have been a very interesting experience for you. From another
Exactly.
point, which is that sometimes a lot of us just stick to the a particular talent group, right? Like a white collar workforce, a knowledge workforce, etc. But this would have also given you a lot of exposure to the blue collar talent and the frontliners, right? Which again, that was also a huge learning, and and also in terms of an HR professional looking at different strategies for different sort of these talent groups. That would have been
So,
quite a journey as well, right?
so, as I told you, the curiosity was there around. So when I joined the organization, I realized, okay, uh, everything has to be unlearned and relearn, because whatever I have learned till yesterday might not help me here. So
Right.
unlearn everything and start relearning from day one with the organization. And when it comes to blue collar, one thing is very common with all the people around. They will have high emotions, and if you cannot match the wavelength, they will never come back to you. So as an HR, I realized immediately that, okay, uh, for them the most important thing is how quietly, patiently you are listening to their problems, how fast you can resolve their problems, and how smartly you can ensure that same problem does not happen again. It might, but the frequency should be less than the previous ones. And this could not happen with unless until we have that that empathy towards people. Be quiet, listening to them quietly. Okay, this has happened. Okay, okay, okay. And initially you might not like it, but as I said, as an HR, this was very important. If you
Ajit,
are able,
my ex MD had shared a very important anecdote with us, and he said that when you are working with a blue collar or a frontliner, right, who's earning fair wages, minimum wages, fair wages, or a little bit above, right? I
exactly,
think you can take everything from that person, but you should never take the self respect or
exactly,
self worth, right?
exactly,
Because if you take that also, then he's left with nothing because he has very minimal, he or she has very minimal things. And then if you take that
exactly,
also from the person, then he will never look turn back to you away. But if you give him
exactly.
that respect, him or her that respect, then no matter what, the person will do whatever it takes to be with you, will contribute, deliver whatever you want from that person, he will do. And I think it holds true for a lot of us, but
Exactly.
that is, I think, one learning, because it takes very little to to keep them engaged, to sort of get your point across, and get them to deliver very little. But I think places, managers, supervisors who've managed to do that better than the others are places where who've managed to retain and engage them better.
No, so I
Great.
just add an example again. Sorry.
Sorry, there are some audience questions and there are heaps of them. So while I was sitting back and relaxing as an audience, I feel it's a. I just, if somebody closes the eye, it feels that it's a big diet setup and somebody on the on the stadium, and the kind of stage setup and the kind of discussions is happening. So what introverting that you tend to rethink of many of things, but there are a lot of questions. I will, in the paucity of time, I will ask certain questions from the audience before we move forward.
Sure.
um, Siddharth, I have a question where the line of startups, the discussion of startups when Ajit was mentioning. A question is there. This is Ramesh. He's asking that startup opportunity. Do you find how do you find startup opportunities? That is one question. And startup at some points, they only ask you to do certain very one-dimensional work because they're hiring you for a purpose rather than growing you from other orthodox organizations. So, what's your advice to HR professionals? He's a young HR professional. So what's your advice? When you take up opportunities, when you take up opportunities in a startup, because then the learning curve gets stagnated. That's what he meant.
So, see, I think what I meant was that if it and again these questions hold true for a lot of selecting an organization, whether it is a startup, non-startup, etc. I think the opportunity what a startup or a young any organization which is very young and growing gives you is that there is no template in place, right? You get into very mature organizations. It is more of, I mean, following a set template, set processes. Decisions get taken somewhere else. Your design inputs are very minimal, unless it's a new initiative that you're a part of, etc. Right? So, I think whether it is startup, non-startup, choose an organization wherein you feel is there at least for the mid run, if not the long term, right? Because your role in any organization, you don't get into an organization thinking, okay, I'll be here for only 1 year, 1.5 years, right? You get into an organization thinking that I'm going to be here at least for my midterm in terms of my career. So choose an organization which has got that runway. As I said, joining a startup gives you a play, a wide playing field. You get to be part of something which is new. You get to learn on the job. Typically, organizations will have that appetite to give you that extra leeway to try something new. uh, as long as as Ajeet mentioned as well, you're bringing value and you're bringing returns, right? It cannot just be the initiative. You say initiative, what is the return I'm getting, or how is it adding in that journey? So I think sometimes we get a little disheartened by all the startup stories, or sort of misadventures that are happening around, and that can happen in any organization. Choosing the organization, choosing the role is very important. And the opportunities that any young organization gives you is a lot of freedom, um, and a lot of learning which comes from that, this thing. So there is no sort of set formula that, listen, any startup I get into will do well, will not do well. It's the same with even any organization. So please, when you're choosing a startup, see what is their journey, what are their plans, how is the founding team, what does their business model look like, whether it is something that you will enjoy doing, the role that you'll enjoy doing, and then sort of jump into it.
Thank you,
Maybe
Siddharth.
Ajit can add a little bit more from his experiences, if
Yeah,
Uh, as I said, as Siddharth very rightly said, they are not. There are no set templates. So if you have that energy, go make one and implement. If you realize, okay, it was not the best one, restructure it, and again you can execute it. As long as we can add value, we can ensure that the ROIs are taken care. You will always have that free hand. We'll have to
I
ensure that, yes. Sorry.
I have limited bandwidth. Otherwise, this question I have to ask because somebody has written three times. Though I feel bit, I don't know how do I reciprocate to this question, but asking just not relating to this. Somebody is asked HR stability in employment is important. So both Sid has spent 7 years and Ajit has spent 5 years in their previous role. So, what makes there are lots of highs and lows. What do you think when you continue in an organization for a longer time? I, I'm sorry, I'm not part of this question, so I will not be able to answer. But I leave it to Siddharth and Ajit, to answer. This is a very important question. People, when you interview people, you look at how much stability you have. Not every day that the things have changed. I am leading IT HR now, where the tables have turned dramatically because everybody changes job. Even HR is changing job every 6 months, and people welcome that. There are a lot of opportunities. But in most of the setup, I personally, my only feeling is it's the impact which you create in a smaller time. What kind of relationship do you build? How resourceful you are. Timeline is just just hours to me. But your thoughts, Siddharth and Ajit, on this. It's an important question.
So, see, I think sticking. I mean, I think all of us join organizations, as I said, not just to sort of spend a year and a half, or whatever, or quick returns. I think I mean, I've been fortunate where I've been part of organizations wherein I've spent a lot of time. After my masters, is only my third organization right now. But I think one thing which is sort of helped, I guess, is the fact that every couple of years I got something new to do. Especially, I can say that for my stint with Compass, I got I was growing along with the growth of the organization and the talent or the people requirements of the organization. So we were looking to build the organization. I was doing recruitments. We were looking to retain and motivate and engage people. I was doing talent management rewards, and then we then I moved into a people lead role for the one of the verticals, so managing the business HR. So I think the answer to this probably is that anybody who gets a fresh challenge before they sort of start stagnating and um, before they start seeking out their next adventure, I think that is one way to retain to retain people. So definitely, I think in my previous stint was consulting, so there every project was fresh. Every sort of new project took me to new sectors, new solutions, etc. So I think that's why I stuck around there for some time. And then, of course, my last stint wherein I got challenges every 2 years, I had a new role to do, and I think that's what I think it might be true for a lot of us. Is to and I think from an employee's perspective also, it's important for you also to sort of share that with the organization. I mean, obviously, the organization, most of them will resonate back and give you that fresh opportunity if you've done justice to your previous role. It's not just about time bound movement. To say that, listen, I've done 1.5 years, 2 years, I want a promotion or I want a new role, right? So many a times that may not happen, and I think there has to be some reflection on the part of the individual. Make useful contributions. You were talking about impact, Ashish. So make that impact in your role. Then seek out a new adventure in the organization. I'm sure there are a lot of things within the teams which can be worked on, or there is a conversation around it saying that, listen, in the next 6 months, I see you moving to the new role. If I don't have something for you right now, I think that is one way to keep people engaged and motivated.
Thank you, Sid. I think that really enlightens. Ajit, top two things which made you glued in Dome.
Uh, One was as I said, the blue collar was the first exposure. So, initial first 1.5, 2 years, I was just trying to, as Sid rightly said, you cannot take their self-respect away from them. So I was trying to fix it up, and then during this journey, I realized, okay, I'm enjoying it. I can add more value to their lives. That was one. The other was, as you evolve with people in the organization, there are a lot of organization which has set templates, but there are organization which have, but they have an option also to, you can modify, alter, change, or being something new also. So do you have that option of building something new around. And it was two verticals, the hospitality and the entertainment also. So again, I have been given an opportunity for the entertainment vertical also. Then I realized, okay, all new kitty had added to my portfolio. Now start afresh. First half of the day you are dealing with a lot of people, blue collar. The second half of the day you are dealing with a lot of creative minds who are designing, building a lot of bigger events. So in whole day you're having a 360 degree of a human mindset. But that keeps me going. And as I Sid said, I, as I always tell my people, when I said engagement, to me engagement is a challenge which will keep you on going. So that was there, and that kept me be with the organization for quite some time.
I completely resonate. Entertainment and engagement are two different things. which brings you you put the aspect of leadership in the paucity of time. I will only take this question. Sorry, audience. Sid, this person happens to be a big fan of yours. I don't get his name, but you had interviewed him, and he did not get a chance to work in your team. So he looked forward to work in your team. I don't know who is this person, but he asked an interesting question. And this question I was also asking you, not exactly the same, but yes, leadership in HR. There are hundreds. I will give a zest of what he's asking. There are hundreds and thousands of people who pass out every year. There are limited opportunities in people function. Only few become visible in terms of, when we say social media visible. Rest keep working in some small startups, some kind of organizations, and leads a life. One, when we look at leadership, there are certain things where people have grown from a very small segment to a larger segment. How do you? So his question is, how do you build up leadership if you are not working in a very renowned organizations? How do you build your personal caliber, and how do you create, you get that opportunity to make, because everybody aspires to be listened to, be getting a pedestrian approach and be a social media influencer, not in terms of, but sharing his thoughts. How can somebody does that? Because uh, this question might be that you don't do, you are a very passive when it comes, with all these, but still there is a mark, because he might be thinking you are working with some renowned organizations in past, future of the large, but some people who do not even get that, how they can be an influential to this fraternity. An interesting, very offbeat question, but I would like you to your thoughts on this.
Yeah. So, see, first of all, unfortunately, the kind of opportunities, etc., we get, are either a function of chance, right? You happen to be at the right place at the right time, talking to the right people, having the right networks, etc. For which, I mean, being present on social media, or being socially visible will help. And you have two examples here of people who've grown their careers but not very active on social media. The second one is obviously earlier on, maybe you're fortunate enough to crack one of the pedigree colleges, and therefore have an early access to some of the bigger brands, right? So that is how typically, maybe when I was in my younger uh, you know journey, in earlier on in my journey, probably that might work. But I think right now, we have absolutely flooded with organizations which are young, upcoming. They have very different take on business. They're doing things in a very, very different way than what traditional organizations have been doing. So I think in terms of opportunities, I think one is that if you go seeking, sooner than later, you will get that opportunity. I don't think anybody should be fascinated with brands, because brands will come. If you've done maybe 5-6 years of good work in some organizations, then it's only a matter of time. If you have that aspiration to work with a big brand, or a great employer in your eyes, you will get that chance, right? But I think earlier on, and I think this statement which made a lot of noise in social media recently, when one of the CEOs also uh, supposedly advocated an 18-hour work. And I think the moot point what he was trying to make was that earlier on in your career, you should focus on doing the right things, the right kind of roles. I think that is what I think the general takeaway from that message should have been, rather than that 18 hours. Because again, it's I think what he wanted to sort of mean is that earlier on you should do those stints, do those roles, understand why it works, how it works. When you're doing a particular initiative, what is the impact that initiative is going to do? People initiative, because we are all HR professionals here. What are the systems, processes, ways of doing things in organization which will work, which will not work? So I think earlier on, having those experiences and creating an impact, because what happens when you have conversations with people who are looking to recruit, right? They are looking at people who've had those experiences, not only in terms of paper, but actually having delivered it. They're looking for people who know what is the value of that delivery with respect to the impact on the business. It's not just about I have retained people. It's how much, what was the attrition before, what it has been reduced to, what were the top 3 things I did to do to reduce it. So I think doing those things earlier on in your career, hands-on knowledge, and seeing where it makes sense for an, in the whole organizational context is important. It's not just about doing the motions, right? I think for anybody who's starting up, doing that, holds you. I mean, it gives you a lot more opportunities, that when you have that one conversation with somebody who's looking to hire somebody, they will appreciate that experience, right? Steve famously said, the harder he trained, the more luckier he got, right? So it's about going through those experiences. There's nobody who can teach you better than you. You're having experience that yourself. Learn from the people that you work with. The amazing people who are with you, below you, above you, or in any other functional team. So absorb, see what best you can make from it, and all of that will give you that right kind of masala or the right kind of experience, that when you're having that critical conversation with somebody who's looking to take you as part of the team, you have enough practical experience and you come across as somebody who's done it, right? And then crack that conversation. So I think that is, I think, the best way. And there are many examples of people who've come from this not very sort of cliched paths and who are doing very well. And then to each his own. I mean, some people are good at something, some people are not. But I think in the longer run, if somebody wants to do something, they can, provided they just put in the hard yards earlier on.
Great. Thank you so much, Sid. I think you nailed it with this. And I want to say to that person, I have been a bit lucky to work with Siddharth. You please chase him over LinkedIn and chase him until you get a job. So he is one of the delight to work with. Specifically, you will realize that two people in my career, Sid and Mr. Henry Moses, MD of Qatar Airways, without raising their voice and even arguing also, how do you inspire people to be focused? And this was one of my questions which I was asking him, that how do you do that? Sometimes you find people who are only doing limited scope of work and they have to be pulled. How do you increase that aura of how do you want to go above and beyond, and make that team manager feels, that doing the extra bit? And it can only happen through kind of charisma, and Siddharth, you have it. Ajit, the last question to you. I understand we have overshot the time, and Siddhartha, and you are giving precious time on a Sunday, on a off day, on a morning. A last question which somebody has asked, Ajit, is that career planning can go bizarre at every point of time. This question is that, you saw a bit hit after Dome and after COVID and all,
COVID.
and is that it can happen. We are not yet, there are a lot of pandemics which keep can coming and impact our jobs end of the day. So
Yeah.
your advice, as one of, he has put the word victim. I don't know, this is a very wrong term, but I will interest, he's saying he has been also one of the victim, where he has part of those organization where he has, is that being one of the victim of this act of God, how do we, what should we do as HR professionals to safeguard ourselves? So interesting question, for you.
So, yeah. So I'll just sum up the person who has asked this question. See, anything can happen to anybody at any given point in time. So I have seen 2008 recession also, Ashish. I did
Correct.
not mention that in my conversation, and the people who have seen that, they know what that means to the world economically. Now, 2020 was a very different scenario. The one thing which time will teach us is to be humble, understanding the you know the to be precise economically, how are we doing. And sometimes we had a conversation, you have used the term minimalistic. So the moment we realize, okay, how much and what all you need to survive, once that is there, you have learned your hard ways, it is easy for you to sustain in these difficult times, because this can happen to anybody at any time. This has happened to the global people in the economy, but it can happen to any organization you are working with, or the any individual you are around with. So it's a situation which is out of our hand. What we can hold is uh, our patience, our self control. The term minimalistic, this will ensure that yes, one important thing is the connect in these difficult times. Even if you are a victim or you are not a victim, the most important thing is to be connected, because that keeps you that keeps on that energy flowing around you. Which energy to take is more important, because when you have a situation like pandemic, you might not get positive every time. But yes, that filter has to be on. If somebody is giving a negative energy, you have to ensure that you pass on some positive out of your energies and give it to him or the her. So that will ensure that yes, as a society, we are helping each other, not physically, emotionally, monetarily, but yes, by connections also. If we can spend 5-10 minutes with somebody and just give those few words which will ensure that okay, this is not the end of the life. As we always say, every negative has a positive end, and if it is not positive, it is not yet end. Okay,
Yes.
so when we were in the 20-25 years back, the digital cameras were not there, so we had that roles in the camera. So every role was called negative, and out of those negatives we used to have nice pictures. So people who are at our age must be relating this, that in our school pictures we all had that negative, and out of those negatives we used to have positive pictures, and those pictures are still at our houses, our offices, in framed manner, and we all look at it and we realize okay, what memories we had. So every negative will come out with a positive. It is not positive, it is not the end. Just hold on to it.
Great, great thoughts, Ajit. I am done with audience questions. Sorry, audience, I could not ask all of them. We have asked a lot of questions. Please reach out to Ajit and Siddharth on their LinkedIn. They are dormant, but please keep messaging them so that they get messages with their personal email IDs to answer. But Siddharth, we have overshot. I think I mean, any final questions would you like to ask Ajit before we formally close it? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've asked a lot of professional questions, and I think it sort of ties up with the earlier question as well, as what are some of the things outside of work which keeps him going, and the his passions, and because obviously that plays a huge role in keeping all of us sane in this mad race, right? So just getting to know a little bit about Ajit the person and his passions.
Yeah. So, Siddharth, as a individual, I won't say shy, but yes, I take time to break that ice. But once that is broken, I will barge into your house and I will ensure that I finish your all food around in the fridge. And but yet that will take some time. Once that is done, then there's no looking back. As an individual, I will always try and help people go extra mile, uh, sometimes even if I don't know the individual, but that's all right. As I said in the beginning, empathy has come with time. When we all were kid, we were all like same. Somebody learned something, somebody learned. I could learn empathy. Okay, I could relate anything. Yes, I love running. That keeps me going, fit also to some extent. So whenever you will find me sitting idle, after half an hour you'll find me running somewhere around with my jogging shoes on, because that gives me a trigger. Okay, as long as you are, as I said in the beginning, I'm still a boy, and that is one of the source of energy. Which as long as you are running, you are fit. Uh, you'll be able to add more value, contribute more. That's the whole idea behind it. Uh, One thing I would like to add, people who know me closely, very much fond of sweets. So that is another reason to run a lot of running, ensuring that I don't touch the diabetic mark. So yeah, that's a kind of short and sweet. Yes, one very important thing is, as an individual, I always try and ensure somebody's talking to me will have a positive energy out of me. As I said in the beginning, no matter what situation I am running through or going through, somebody used the term victim for all of us, but I will tell him, if somebody have spoken to me in 2020 April May, I'm not talking about July August when we had little relaxation. April May, I my only job was to ensure that whoever is calling me or messaging me, I will just ensure them it's just a matter of time, buddy. Hold on to it. And to survive, we need few very basic things, that is air, which is free by nature; water, which is free by nature through various sources; food, which is minimalistic. You put one seed into the land, you get 700 that seed out of it. So don't worry about it. Nature has given enough and more. Just hold on to it. Cut your pizza budgets, cut your travel plans, cut your Ola Uber, which is any which was not working right now, and you will be able to come out of it. And yeah, that's what I always try and ensure that okay, somebody's around me will have a positive energy. uh, and I don't know, but yeah, to some extent, if it can add value to their individual lives, I am more than happy to have that.
Nice, nice, Ajit. Nice thoughts. Somebody tagged you as Karthik Aryan of HR industry for long monologues. So, so nice. I like that tag. I could not enough thank. I'm sorry for overshooting, but I'm glad audience has kept us so glued, and this is what kept us going. Siddharth, a big thank you and a big shout out for you to to come forward and do it on a weekend where we understand there might be commitments, but this kind of it's a very limited this kind of synergies which we see in a lot of HR leaders, and you're one of them. I deeply from the entire team of Sampark, we are indebted, and we are honored that you are here on this platform to lead this. And Ajit, I must say, people who have heard you first time would think that some kind of scholar who is coming, and as Siddharth said that you have lived a lot of experiences which comes in depth. Whenever you are saying at any given point of time, personally I have never felt it was fabricated, or it was sometime which you think and you give some kind of wrong messages. I think you have lived each part of journey, and this experience comes through when you say I wish you a great career ahead, and wish, in fact, all of us a great career ahead, because in our own time zones, we are trying to make a mark of this. And Team Sampark is, thankful to you. You happen to be one of the members of Team Sampark as well, leading Mumbai. So thank you so much for coming, and takes a lot of courage to come back and speak your thought to this public platform. Siddharth, I hope you enjoyed it. I know you are very you are particular about events and all, but I this one will always stay very special to me. Not only we strengthen our bond previously, the kind of experiences I had with you, which are always fresh in my memory. With 1.5 years of those time, right from the event when we did it in Gurgaon until I exited when I was in Mumbai, kind of support which we have given. I think there's a lot of learning which comes experiential, and I have truly learned, to be a good leader under you. I thank you for all the support which you have given personally, as well as to this fraternity as a whole.
Thank you, Ashish and Ajit. All the best. I will really look forward to seeing you grow in your career, and we'll recollect our chat whenever you keep achieving more and more from here. So we'll be in touch, and all the very best.
I look
Thank
forward to
thank you,
have all
Siddharth.
of us in one panel over a panel discussion. I think that would be a perfect submission to.
I think we should budget more time.
Yeah.
By the way, things have gone.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thanks, Sid. Thank you,
Thank you,
Siddharth.
Ashish, for having me here. Thank you so much, Siddharth. So I just want to thank for one simple thing, the kind of simplicity you have shown. I missed one call we have scheduled, and very politely he messaged me today morning that can we connect at XYZ time, and I was wondering he's still quite okay. Then I said okay, we will have it, and the way you spoke for me to me for 10-15 minutes, and that so when I'll just summarize that. When I tell people पूरा चावल का डब्बा चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं है, सिर्फ 4 दाने निकालो, चेक करो वो तैयार है कि नहीं तैयार है. And in those 15 minutes I realized, my god man, I have a man to talk today, so I have to be at my best. Thank you so much for this,
No,
Siddharth.
no, I had a very engaging chat, Ajit. Thank you so much for the invitation, and this last one has been extremely engaging. Thank you.
Thank you so
All right, bye
much.
bye. Have a great